Hi, Jess. Welcome. Thank you for your time. So, tell me, you reached out to me about something that you're doing, and I'm really kind of resonated with me. So, why don't you tell everybody your story?
Well, hey, Doug, thanks for having me. Well, basically, I'm not new to low carb. I've done low carb successfully 3 times, lost 85 pounds, and then stepped away thinking I could handle some of those foods, and I really can't. This last time, 2014, I linked up arms with my cousin, and we went on a year-long journey of weight loss using a low carb approach. And it was very successful. I lost all of 85 pounds. And at that point, I have to tell you, I took a very sobering look at my plate. When I removed controlling foods, I got my control back. And for me, that's pasta, rice, bread, potatoes, and sugars. And I don't eat those. I haven't had any of those since 2014. And inflammation left, weight came off, energy came back. I got back to my beloved bicycle and riding, tens and hundreds of miles over the summer, and got back my life.
Right.
And then I got really concerned about getting bored and maybe wandering off again. What do you do when you lose all that weight and you can fit in those clothes and you can do those weekend activities? What then? And I spent some time really quiet, kind of said some prayers, and I came back to hearing and really inside myself, help others. And it was scary because food is complicated in our lives, but it wasn't scary because I'm a personal trainer. I'm an encourager. I've always been a coach, a life coach type friend. Gathering people and encouraging them is just second nature. I can always find something really positive to say. And you throw in the fact that I was in a gym and all of a sudden everybody saw me just shrink. I really didn't talk about what I ate as much as I just talked about how I removed those controlling foods, because I'm sure you've seen this. You get out in public and you say low carb and you see the glaze come over their faces.
Yeah.
I don't say that very often. I say I removed these foods that were such a problem, and I kind of resolved a lot of problems, a lot of inflammation. Definitely couch potato syndrome was over. I was out riding bikes, but I got my sense of purpose back for life again. And since that time, I've gone on and helped a lot of people. Diet Doctor ran my success story, and I made some friends. Also was able to pick up some coaching clients. And that led to small groups on a local basis here in the suburbs of North Atlanta. And throughout 2017, I was able to either facilitate personally or co-lead over 100 small groups. And we had them in the hospital, we had them at the church, in classrooms, in the neighborhood, even in a restaurant and a coffee shop.
So, how do you, sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
how do you actually run those little groups? Because I'm hoping that people listening here will follow your lead, and so maybe tell them a little bit about how you go about running these groups.
Sure. So what happens is people approach you and you say, let's do coffee. Or the hospital said, could you come share your story? Everything usually starts with our story. We have this change, and people are always, wherever there's weight loss, people want to know what happened. What did you do? What do you eat? So I would say, well, let's get together and I'll tell the story. Grab a friend and we would meet. Usually after telling your story, there are usually people who will come and say, hey, I want to do this. And then I say, okay, for the next maybe 30 days, I will meet every week here for an hour. And we'll talk about foods that we should eat and shouldn't eat. I tell them at that point that I went low carb. And then I have a team of friends who've gathered with me, and we went out and looked at all the basics of low carb. And we put together a little book, and it's just a compilation of what's out there because, most people don't have the time. So we took the time and put our little booklet together. So we have this little getting started book. Right. And it really is restrict those carbs under 50, eat these type of foods, talked about the healthiness of whole fats. And then we meet once an hour, once a week, or once every other week. And we talk about successes that we're having. We talk about questions because this is confusing. We talk about keeping things simple. When do we start getting up and moving? How important is it to go back to the gym? Mm-hmm. And we make friends. And I found that when I started to sit back after maybe talking for 10 minutes, someone would ask a question and another one would jump in with an answer. And another one would say they'd been to this website. And next thing you know, the papers and pens are flying and they're writing things down. One week, a gal brought something she had cooked and everybody they wanted to taste. How did that taste? So our groups take on kind of a different topic every week: self-management, journaling, cooking, websites. And we talk about them and how they work in our lives, what works in our lives. And people start reaching out and caring for each other. I've got a Facebook page. They can meet there. It's somewhat private. And they grow together and they start linking arms. And then we got a group that go to the park and they walk together. And the men split off and they started doing a burger night on Tuesdays. And they do all this man talking and eating clean. And they talk about how they can wash their car and mow their grass in the same day.
No, that's a big deal. You know, as you get older and you find that you couldn't do that anymore, suddenly you can again. Yeah. That's huge.
So you've got the 30-somethings who don't think they have time. So the other 30-somethings show them all the shortcuts. You got the 40-somethings who are little aches and pains and they don't want to go run a marathon, but they wouldn't mind taking a walk at the park. And you got the guys in the burgers. And so it just is kind of organically formed. And wherever I go and share my story, I often try to find any way I can come back and help start a little mini community, because people need each other.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds awesome. So by the sounds of it, these groups are kind of starting to take on a life of their own. I mean, you're not present at every single one, are you?
No, I'm not. And not all of those 100 groups are, those were sections. We always start a section of time, a month or 2 or 3 months, or when it's going to be a long journey. And because you can tell you're dealing with really obese people. Yeah, it's not every minute. It's not every week. Some of these groups and the teachers, we met the teachers in the summer. The hospital ran a Biggest Loser. They had us in. It was in the summer. I have one group that's run for about 1.5 years, and it's every other Sunday afternoon. And it doesn't have a beginning or an end. But those women, it's like they're just this bedrock. And then we took a really unique step and we put together a retreat where we went away into the North Georgia mountains for 1 day away. And we'll have a topic like getting back to purpose. We've got another one coming up, and it's going to be just about committed. And we call it 1 day away. And we'll talk about being committed to the food you found that works, being committed to yourself and starting to come, obese people have separated from themselves. I don't want to get all psycho here, but, we eat in this shameful way and we get into this denial because we can't stop and we're eating foods that are so addictive and the sugar problems. But when you come out of that and you start to lose weight, you have to go find yourself again. And people, we're just going too fast in this country. So we have these little retreats, and I get about 25 to 30 people, men and women. We go away I have a retreat center someone gives to me. We just have a day. And that is like, by the time they all get back, this last one, they came from out of state, 2 or 3 people, and they've already booked for the next one in April. They're coming back and they're bringing their friends.
So yeah, come back totally rejuvenated.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway from all of these little stories is people want to connect with others, and they do better together than on their own. If we could do it alone, we'd all be skinny.
Yeah. And I found, even with the big events that we do, we bring in all these big speakers and that, but I find it seems to be, I'm starting to notice that more and more the real benefit that people seem to get out of these conferences is being in a place where everybody else gets it, and everybody else is there that they can talk about the problems they're having, where they can feel safe because their friends and family and doctors are all often telling them that they totally gonna kill themselves or whatever, and suddenly they come to a place where they fit in. And I think I was talking to you about it before we started this interview, was that my idea of starting Low Carb USA was to develop a community of people that we could build and get beyond the envelope of believers that were already coming and listening to all these conferences. We need to get beyond that. And building a community is the way to do that. And so to hear that you're doing something like this already is awesome. And hopefully more and more people that can listen to this blog and this video and maybe decide to do what you're doing in their city or their town or their village or whatever, you know.
Sure. One of the things that we're slowly doing as we've done all these groups, because I have a team of about 6 women, and we'll sit around and what happened here? How did we do this? We had the little get started guide, but now we're putting together a little small group leadership guide.
Right.
And one of my heart's beats, one of the things I want to do beyond help someone lose weight is help them when they're ready to emerge and do something. I say, I want to help you help others. And my passion for that is like almost more than I've told my girlfriends. I've left the food. Y'all help the people diet. I want to help people find their footing, find their voice, learn how to tell your story. You know, one thing I did, I haven't mentioned to you is I took, back when it originated, I took the Banting coaching certification when Dr. Noakes was still part of Real Meal Revolution.
Right.
And I was the second American to be certified. And I don't work up under all of that umbrella, but I took away the value of leading through my story.
Right.
We've all got a story. It's anecdotal. We're not going to step on anyone's toes. And, you know, in reality, people can't argue. They can sit down and argue with you about saturated fats or cholesterol, but when you tell them what happened to you, there's no argument. I've sat with dietitians at the hospital who were starting to shake their head, and I said, well, it just happened to me.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what I'm seeing as well, is that and I think I mentioned it at the opening speech that I did at our West Palm Beach event, was like, all of us, the reason I'm doing this is because of this profound effect that this diet had on my life. And everybody has that same experience, wants to now tell other people about it. And I think the problem is that most of us don't know how. And you've found that way. And so I'm wondering maybe if maybe you can tell people, just to finish off here, how they can get in touch with you, because I'm kind of throwing you under the bus here a bit, but saying, maybe if any of you out there want to try and do something similar, then maybe they can just reach out to you and you could help them understand how to get started. Sure.
You can reach me. You can go to my blog website, findyourfood.org, or Jess, Jess, at findyourfood.org. Both of those places. We have a Facebook group. It's not really super active. I just seem to do better on the ground with real people.
Right.
But we are positioning just, small, simple, honest content so that we can help others. And that's how you can get me at findyourfood.org. There's a bunch of contact buttons. And we'd love to help. I mean, that's our heart. How can we help you help others?
That's awesome.
That's just me in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, that's what we're about too. So thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
And hopefully this will spark an even bigger revolution of getting this message out there. Thanks again, Jeff.